Hello again, welcome to Maths is Not a Mystery. We're looking at highest common factor and lowest common multiple at the higher level today. If you've already watched the video about the foundation level, you'll understand what we're doing. Highest common factor means when you're asked to find the highest common factor of two numbers, you find all the factors of one number, all the factors of the other number, and look for the common factors, the ones that are the same in both lists, and then you just find the highest one. To find the lowest common multiple, you find a bunch of multiples of each number. That means do the times table for 5, 6, 7 numbers. And you find the first place that there is a match on those two lists. Now that's all very well doing it in list form, and that's what you're asked to do at foundation level. At higher level, sometimes they give you numbers that are a bit bigger and a bit more difficult to deal with, and you would be writing these lists out for quite a long time. And maths really is all about finding easy ways to do things. So if you can learn this way to do this, you're going to be able to bypass writing lists. Now, let's try this then. Let's try to do the highest common factors and the lowest common multiples of, what shall we choose, 24 and 40. Make sure it's on the screen for you. Okay, we'll start with the highest common factor, and what we're going to do is, this time round, we're going to do factor trees. Okay, you've done factor trees before, I'm sure, but in case you haven't, we'll do it steadily. 24, you get the number, you write down the number in a little circle, you put a couple of prongs coming out of the circle, and you find two numbers that multiply together to make 24. Typically, it's best to start with something like 2 times, if you can. 2 is a prime number. 12 isn't, so let's break that up into 2 times 6. You could have done 3 times 4, it doesn't matter, you'll get the same answer at the end, but I start with the 2's. 6 is not a prime number. I'm going to break that down to 2 times 3. All of those are prime numbers now, so I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Always double check it. Does that all work out to 24? 2 times 2 is 4. Times that by 2 makes 8. Times that by 3 makes 24. So it's correct. Okay. As we said in the prime numbers work that we did before, it doesn't matter if you start using a different pair of numbers that multiply to 24. You'll still end up with 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Now we're not going to change that into power notation because we're going to need it to stay like it is. Instead, we're going to go on and do 40 in the same way. So 2 times 20. Break up the 20 because it's not a prime number. Break that into 2 times 10. 10's not a prime number. Break that into 2 times 5. They're both prime numbers, so we've finished. And so 40 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Okay, again, check it. 2 times 2 makes 4. Times that by 2 makes 8. Times that by 5 makes 40. So it's correct. So we've done a factor tree and we've found the prime factors of 24 and the prime factors of 40. So far we haven't done any highest common factors, lowest common multiples, but we have done a factor tree. Now what we're going to do with it? Okay, to find the highest common factor, it's really, really simple now. All we do is we look at our lists, our 2 lists that we've written out, and we find all the things on there that are exactly the same. So there's a 2, there's another 2, there's another 2, and that's it, because we've got a 3 and a 5. They're not exactly the same. So we've found all the matches on the list. Do the sum. 2 times 2 makes 4, times 2 makes 8. That's it. We found the highest common factor of 24 and 40. 8 is the biggest number that will divide into both 24 and 40. 24 is on the 8 times table, 40's on the 8 times table. Smaller numbers will divide into 24 and 40. 1s, 2s, 4s. But they're not the highest common factor. The highest one, the biggest number that will divide into both numbers, is 8. So that's all we do then. We do a factor tree, we list them, not in power notation, and we find the matches. We find all the things that are exactly the same as each other, and then we work out the answer to the question. And that's it. Now, the lowest common multiple is a little bit harder, but not much. So let's take a look at how we do that. We need that list again. I'm just going to write it out again because I crossed it out. So 24 was 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. I'll just divide it up so that it looks tidy. 40 was 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Okay, what we're going to do this time is we start off by looking for the smaller of our original numbers. The smaller number is 24, and we write out the entire list of prime factors for 24. Okay, without worrying about whether they're on the other list or not, we write them all out. So I've just copied it. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And then what we do is we look at the list of prime factors for the bigger one of the two numbers, 40, and we don't reuse any numbers. So we're not going to reuse that 2 because it was already there. We're not going to reuse that 2 because it was there. We're not going to reuse that 2 because it was there. If there was another 2 here, we would use it because 3 of those 2's are already there. If there was a spare 2 at the end, we would use it because it would be additional. So we're not using those 3 2's, but we are going to include anything else that's in the list for 40. So the only thing that's in the list for 40 is 5. There could be more things, but in this case, there's just 5. Now, we've finished this stage of it. We're going to do the sum. 2 times 2 makes 4. Times that by 2 makes 8. Times that by 3 makes 24. Times that by 5. How do you do that? Just a quick thing here. 24 times 5. You know, if I'm doing 24 times 5, what I do is I think about 5 being half of 10. I know that 24 times 10 is 240. So 24 times 5 must be half of 240. So it's 120. It's a quick way to multiply a big number by 5. Do it by 10 and half it. 120 is the lowest common multiple, which means that if you were to go up your 24 times table, which is not that easy, and you were to go up your 40 times table, which is quite easy, the first number that you would have on both tables would be 120. Okay? Now this is a slightly more complex way of doing things, but do you know your 24 times table well enough to write it out? It works when you've got either difficult times tables or where the list might be very, very long before the two numbers join together, or where the list of factors might be really difficult. If they give you a number like 620, it might be quite difficult to figure out all its factors. So you get your factor tree done, and this will solve it for you. They're not going to ask you 620, by the way. All right, so highest common factor is, as we said, you just find all the things that match. All the ones that match, ignore the ones that don't. And that's your highest common factor. For lowest common multiple, start with your smaller of your two numbers that you've been given. Write out the entire list of prime factors, and then look for anything that's left over for the other number. Put that onto the end of the list. Work out the answer to that. That's how you do that at the higher level. It's not going to get any harder than that for highest common factor and least common multiple. So I hope you've understood it. Thank you for watching Maths is Not a Mystery. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.